And we're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Dojo Live. Today is Wednesday, January 12th, 2022. This is Tulio Suragusa broadcasting from Southern California. And I'm joined today by Kim Lantis in Hermosillo, Mexico. Hi, Kim. Welcome back.
Hey, Tulio.
And our guest, Gary York, who's the founder and chairman at Help Lightning. He is in Birmingham, Alabama. Welcome to the show today, Gary.
Thank you, Tulio. Glad to be here.
All right, so we're going to be talking about some interesting things today, specifically about remote visual assistance, democratizing access to expertise. I don't want to steal Kim's thunder for introducing the topic, but I kind of did. I'm sorry, Kim. But let's go, before we dive into that and see what we can learn, let's get to know you a little bit. Gary, if you could kindly introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you. And then we'll dive in and understand what Help Lightning is all about. But please introduce yourself. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, happy to. So I'm a technologist and entrepreneur. I've been in the technology space for many years. I got my graduate degree, a master's and PhD from Carnegie Mellon, and then worked in Boston and Silicon Valley in early B2B software businesses. And after a while, I decided that being an entrepreneur was what I wanted to be. So I've started, since then, I've started 4 B2B software companies that have had success with 3 private sales and 1 IPO among my previous companies.
Nice. Congratulations. Great story, great success. So tell us a little bit about Help Lightning. First of all, what gave birth to this idea? What was that? I need to go create Help Lightning. And what do you guys do today?
Well, the idea came from a friend of mine who is a neurosurgeon, and he wanted to be able to, they're inventing new neurosurgical procedures all the time, new ways of saving lives and such. And he wanted to be able to project that expertise to people who needed it. So somebody's in an auto accident, they need a life-saving procedure. The surgeon at this, the local hospital doesn't know it, but they could get an expert to, show them how to do it from 1,000 miles away and, save the patient's life. So that was really truly was his vision for being able to use this technology. We found that the idea of remote visual assistance was really very useful in so many other areas. And our focus really has been around service industries. So the idea is that if you're trying to service a piece of equipment, and you as a company, you have your experts, your product experts, your customer service organization, then you can use this video-based collaboration tool to allow your experts to be virtually present and be able to solve problems for your customers with much more quickly and at much lower cost. It democratizes the access to expertise.
Okay, I'm curious to learn a lot, including, is this more about self-help? All right, let's go and dig into the topic. Kim, please, let's kick it off and see what we can learn today.
Sure, perfect. Thank you, Tulio. Thank you, Gary. As Tulio already shared with us, the topic you chose today, Gary, is remote visual assistance democratizing access to expertise, and more specifically, using remote visual assistance software and how it has made it easier than ever to share expertise. And this is done by granting access to an expert at the right time and place. And we're all about the empowerment, right, of people and collaboration, solving problems together. Right. So, Gary, first and foremost, what was it that made you choose this topic today to talk about?
Well, as we all know, we're still suffering from COVID and the impacts of COVID. And when it first hit, there were lockdowns and there were people and travel restrictions, and everybody went home, and we all figured out how to work from home. And that was really a shock to a lot of industries where people were used to working together in person. And so even like field service industries, there were restrictions on allowing field service technicians to come into your home or to come into your business to help solve problems. And so that was what really showed people that they have to change the way they've been doing business, And it showed that opportunity for using more virtual tools. We're all now, Zoom is now a verb, and that wasn't the case 2 years ago. And so, but the same is true for remote visual assistants for around the physical world. So Zoom is when we're interacting in meetings, and Help Lightning is when you're helping to solve a problem, typically with some, in the physical world, with equipment and processes that you have in your businesses.
That's fantastic. I think it makes me, as I'm listening to you, this makes me remember some type of a cartoon or an anecdote about all these engineers trying to figure out this, huge problem as to why this giant ship wouldn't work. It wouldn't turn on. And they call in some expert, and he comes in and he looks at it and he just bangs this face with a hammer, and they're like, and, sends his however many thousands of dollars of bill. And they're like, what? You only banged it with a hammer? And he's like, no, you're paying for me to know exactly where I need to hit it and with what.
That's right. Yeah.
So I
exactly.
think it's kind of making that visual. So how does this work? Like, how do you find your collaborators, or where do you get your pool of experts who know where to hit that hammer?
That's right. So we sell a software as a service solution to businesses, and they're the ones who have the experts. So, for example, one of our customers is Becton Dickinson. They sell lab equipment, for example, even lab equipment that's used for COVID testing. So when COVID hit, they had lots of demand for increasing the testing capacity around the world, and they shipped equipment to Zimbabwe and Guam and all sorts of unusual places around the world that needed to increase their testing capacity for COVID. But they couldn't send their people there because of the lockdown. So they needed to be able to set up that equipment and then train those people and then support their customers if there was any problems with the equipment. So now they can do that with tools like Help Lightning. They can do that virtually, where their expertise can be physically present, or they can be virtually present, but it's as if they were physically present. So Help Lightning has a technology. It's a type of augmented reality that we call merged reality. And the idea is that the expert's field of view is merged with the field of the person needing help into a single view. And this merged reality allows you to see the hands and tools of the expert in the field of view, showing them what to do. So instead of just talking to you about it and saying, oh, the left button, no, the other left, you can say, this is the button you need to push right here. And and take this dial and turn this dial to the left, counterclockwise a quarter of a turn, and they can see me showing it, so they know exactly what to do. It helps overcome technical language barriers as well as foreign language barriers by being able to show somebody this merged reality.
Okay, so let me see if I can just visualize this, right? So let's say I use Thumbnail, I think that's what it's called, and I'm looking for someone to do repair or whatever I need, right? That service provider, that company, could then support their technicians with this video support on how to solve a problem, whatever it is, putting up a television on a wall. And so it's the practitioner that gets the support? Or is it me as the end user? Now I have the option to either have a technician come out, or you're going to help me do this myself, or both. Can you break it down for us?
Right. So obviously, a lot of companies, they want their products to be successful, and sometimes it does require special expertise to be able to set up the product, or to be able to do some maintenance activity or tasks, and so that's what Help Lightning is for. So I think you're in Southern California. Cox Communications is one of our customers, and during the pandemic, they made the decision not to send their technicians into people's homes and businesses during the initial phase, because they were concerned about the safety of their customers, but also the safety of their technicians being exposed to the virus. So they now could use Help Lightning to help the customer solve this problem without going into the person's home. And that's exactly how they used it in the initial phases of the pandemic. But even better, imagine for a moment that you don't even have to send the technician out to your house, but instead you can call the 800 number. You can maybe you've ordered some new equipment and you want to get help setting it up. A new Nest thermostat, and you're going to put it in your home, and the technician can show you exactly how to hook it up, exactly what to do. Maybe you got the red and the green wire reversed, and you need to flip them around to make it to set it up, or you can't get it onto the Wi-Fi network, and they can show you exactly how to do that. So now you get that expertise to solve your problem right away. So it not only reduces the cost of potentially sending somebody out to your home, but also it improves customer satisfaction substantially, because you get your problem solved now rather than having to wait till Wednesday sometime between noon and 4 p.m.
Right.
I love it.
It makes a lot of sense. Like, the customer is happier, the business is happier. And I think, I'm guessing there's this trickle down. It's more cost effective for the company, but it's also more cost effective for the clients. I'm assuming the service would be a little less, not having to pay for the gas or whatever it is that it requires to get someone to your home.
It certainly can help with costs, but it really helps. You get the trifecta. You get a reduction in cost, but you get an improvement in the quality of service, and you get happier customers. And oftentimes customers are willing to pay for better service. There's lots of studies out there that show that customers are willing to pay more in order to get a higher quality service. And so some of our customers are actually charging for Help Lightning as a way of solving the problem now, and potentially solving it at lower cost for them, and potentially lower cost for the consumer also.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, this having a high impact in more, at least relatively speaking, to the United States, remote places like Zimbabwe. How do you work out the dependency on internet itself in places that are, let's say, less stable? Even myself, I don't know what I look like. I'm probably pixelated. My connectivity at my home is not the best. So how do you weigh in that factor? What's a plan B, or how does that function?
Right. Well, yeah. So clearly, in a video-based solution, you need internet connectivity in order to be able to use a video-based solution. But obviously, with 4G and now 5G, that actually is becoming more and more of the norm rather than the exception. So there certainly are environments where internet connectivity may not be very good. And fortunately, Help Lightning can dynamically adjust your frame rate and your video resolution based on the available bandwidth. But in addition, if you don't have bandwidth for video, then we actually have a capability of using photos, using screenshots, using effectively a still shot in order to get a look at it, and then see what's going on, and then to get another look at it and see what's going on. And this mode allows you to work in lower bandwidth environments. But frankly, I mean, one of my friends who works with manufacturing organizations all around the world said he was in the rural part of Cambodia in some rice field, and he said the internet connectivity was better there than it was at his home. At his home in Georgia. So it's really
fantastic.
So I think that even though we think of internet as being, it is certainly still spotty, but it's becoming better. And a lot of developing countries are skipping wired connections entirely and going straight to wireless.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm eating my words. Thank you for educating me. That's great. I'm happy.
All right. So how does this compare? And I have to ask, because today you can pretty much find everything on YouTube, right? I recently replaced the battery on a Mac, on my kid's Mac, and I learned how to do it on YouTube. I was like so proud of myself. I'm like a little Apple technician changing the battery. My next adventure is changing the screen on another Mac. So, but it's like you have to read it, and you got to look at it, and you got to pause it. It's kind of cumbersome. So is this like a way, I mean, how does that compare to these self-help videos that are out there? I suppose it's more like I have a partner who's with me when I need them and talks me through it. It's not just watching, pausing, reviewing, pausing, which is kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. Is that the value of this? Can you go a little further for the consumer? I get it for the technician. They get basically support, and they can call in to help when they need to, of a senior technician or what have you, which helps them deliver better quality of service. But for the consumer itself, is that really what they're looking for? Is that assurance of having someone there when they need it, instead of having to review the video back and forth over and over? What's the thought process?
Yeah, no doubt. It's important to have kind of a continuum of options for service. And a lot of service organizations these days are implementing what they call an omni-channel strategy. So they want to be able to use whatever channel you want. If you want to ask your question on Twitter, or if you want to, if you want pure self-help and you don't want to talk to anybody, they want to support you in all of those different ways. So it really is a part of video-based collaboration is just part of that continuum. You may start with self-help, and then you may get to a point where you're stuck, and then you can click on that "Get Help Now" button, and boom, you're in video. The expert can see the progress you've made so far, exactly where you are in the process,
or the mess that you've made.
Right. I forgot where that little thingy goes. I forgot where that goes.
They tell you whether you just need to light a match and burn it up, or where there's a way to recover from this problem. So, but yeah. So now they can give you a little bit, give you a few hints, talk you through it, and frankly, a lot of people like that personal touch. The brands that are often being the most successful are those that where you make your customers feel special. And for a lot of our customers, they don't have YouTube. You're not going to be able to find a lot of YouTube videos on how to support the Otis
brain
elevator
surgery
equipment or Becton Dickinson lab equipment. And so, however, they are developing that content. It'll be more of a private repository of content that then they can use for their customers.
Yeah, fast forward 2050 self-help brain surgery, like do-it-yourself brain surgery.
That's advanced. Yep.
Well, remember that the doctor who removed his own appendix in Antarctica back in like the 70s or something? Remember that case? He had to do it with mirrors. I don't remember
that.
It's a really famous case. I mean,
really?
It's true. It's absolutely true. He's the only doctor on site. He realized that he needed to have an appendectomy, so he set up mirrors and all this stuff. And the crew there just sort of was in a supporting role as he performed surgery on himself. True story.
Wow. I'm going to have to look that up.
Yeah. I think he was Russian.
Enroll him in one of your videos.
Exactly. He probably did now. It happened a while back. Anyway, so I divert. So talking about empowerment, I really like this idea because for me as the end user, I think it empowers me to think, this pride of I did that by myself. Yet at the same time, you're supported with this confidence of, am I doing it right? What next? What now? Oops, that didn't work. And so it's really fantastic. What are some of the use cases specifically? I know we've thrown out a couple telecom industries or brain surgery, but can you give us some idea of how this is actually played out in the real world?
Sure. So there are times where it really has been truly life-saving. Not all the cases, but we have a customer that sells equipment that's used in for cardiac patients, patients around their heart catheterizations and a variety of different heart conditions. And there was one of our customers that they have a physician who was a surgeon who was using this technology in a surgical suite. It's kind of like the product is kind of like a Roto-Rooter for your veins. So there was some blockage, and he was trying to to get the blockage out, and he got stuck. The probe got stuck, and he couldn't move it forward. He couldn't move it backward. It was just stuck. And I mean, this is somebody with 25 years experience. This is not a rookie. But he was able to call the vendor, our customer, who had Help Lightning available, and the nurse was, using Help Lightning, showing exactly what was going on to the product expert, to the subject matter expert with our customer, and he through about 12 different steps, he was able to guide the physician on how to get it unstuck and to finish the procedure without having to, really truly saving an emergency surgery. They would have had to rush if they couldn't have gotten it unstuck, they would have had to rush the patient into, into open heart surgery in order to address, to address the problem. So we get those stories. It's really fantastic when you hear stories like that, where you're able to provide that expertise exactly when and where it was needed. And that was obviously crucial from a timing perspective, but also, the patient is sitting there on the table and needing this help. We have customers who also deliver this technology for equipment setup. So another example is maybe you ship that equipment to to Zimbabwe, and sometimes they'll even ship smart glasses with it. So you get the equipment, you put the smart glasses on, and it calls home. And now you can, you're sitting there with the smart glasses with both your hands free, setting up the equipment and getting it going and getting the expert to show you exactly what to do next. So some of our customers will have, if it's very complex pieces of equipment or big construction projects, they may be using it 8 hours a day where they're being guided on what to do next and how to know how to do those things of that sort. So it's really a powerful tool in lots of contexts. But it typically is where there is, we like to think that everybody has everybody's an expert in something, and we love the idea of sharing that expertise to give people their superpowers by being able to share your expertise with them.
Yeah, and knowledge sharing as well. And I think the relationship building that must happen as a natural sort of consequence of using something like this. Are you seeing increased loyalty as well with your customers and their users?
Yes, we have one of our early customers. They actually saw their customer satisfaction score go up over 20% in the first 3 months of using Help Lightning. And they were getting these remarks from people saying, wow, I didn't know you could do that. And I love what you're doing. One of our customers, during COVID, they weren't able to travel and they weren't able to go out and support their customers in the normal way. And they were concerned about it. But by using Help Lightning, they were able to continue supporting their customers, even though they couldn't travel and be there in person. And they got, during the summer of 2020, in the first part of COVID, they got their first ever perfect customer satisfaction score from their customers for this product line using Help Lightning to support them, because their customers weren't expecting much. And all of a sudden, they were able to have this really incredible virtual tool to allow them to get the support they needed and keep their businesses up and running.
Super cool. Seamless. I love it. So let's talk about Help Lightning a little bit more. You as a company, how would you describe your company culture for those who might be interested in joining you as you continue to develop this type of technology? What is it that makes you unique as a company?
Well, we feel our market is really exciting right now and it's growing rapidly. And of course, we're supporting people all over the world with this product. We have customers in 6 continents using Help Lightning in over 100 countries.
Everywhere but Antarctica, basically.
Yeah. Well,
unfortunately,
not yet in Antarctica, but we're working on it. Maybe the surgeon could have helped that guy with his appendix removal if he needed help. But it is an exciting time because so much more is being done virtually. And actually, our company is virtual. We have developers in the U.S. and in Asia, in South America, and also in Europe. And so we're a fairly virtual company. What brings us together is a passion to build a great company, to provide a solution that's valuable to our customers. We measure the most important metric for us as a company is the value we help our customers create. So if we create a lot of value for them, they're willing to pay us for that product and help us continue to grow. So I'd say that our culture is collaborative, it's passionate, and it's we come together for this common mission of building a great company.
Nice. And you get to work with some really, really neat little gadgets, I imagine.
We do. I mean, we get smart glasses that, oftentimes early releases, and get to explore with lots of cool gadgets.
Speaking of cool gadgets and glasses, I'm curious. This is obviously the pandemic has precipitated a sort of in a vacuum, people moving more and more towards self-service models, remote support, etc. So it's not something that's going to go away, obviously, at least not anytime soon. And you've got Meta, Facebook with this metaverse and all this movement towards creating this virtual reality where you can get all kinds of services and things that you can experience. Is this part of that kind of an initiative longer term where you could have a virtual reality kind of scenario for training, for enhancing how things are done? What's your thought process fast forward 5 years from now at this becoming a norm versus an alternative? Right now, it's an alternative, right? How is this? What's your thought process longer term for this kind of technology?
Right. Well, a lot of our customers are doing more and more training using virtual reality technologies. We fall. Our technology is really supporting that physical world. So it's not a virtual reality thing where you're interacting with virtual content, but instead we're helping people solve problems in the real world, in the physical world, and that's our sweet spot. But in terms of the long-term vision and the trends that we're seeing that there is the early adopters are being successful in using these technologies and really setting a new standard for what's possible. And so what we're seeing is that it's that there's a ramp up now. We're moving from the early adopters who were using the technology before the pandemic and seeing really great results to now the early majority is coming in and beginning to look at these technologies and find that it's really necessary in order to continue to be competitive and to deliver higher product value. So I think it's becoming the norm to use more of these technologies. Smart glasses are still relatively early. Most of the experts are expecting that Apple will introduce augmented reality glasses sometime in the next couple years. And that will really establish a kind of a starting point for the market. Those who are in the market today, you have Microsoft has HoloLens, and there's a number of vendors that we support, such as Vuzix and RealWear and Zebra, who have smart glasses that are used more in the commercial settings rather than in the consumer settings. But those are we're seeing improvements in those every year. And we're seeing new use cases that are becoming possible, but as they get lighter, as the battery life gets longer, as new features are available that allow them to be more, to have a better software that enables them to be used in new settings. So it's happening, and I think the timing's great for companies like Help Lightning who are trying to build a strong presence there.
Nice. So you've done a few startups. You've even gone through some IPOs. What's different about this one? And, what lessons have you learned along the way about yourself or things you keep iterating or improving? Any words of wisdom you'd like to share?
Well, I really love being an entrepreneur. I've always been at that boundary of what's possible and what's practical. And obviously, for a startup, you have to do what's, that I think that's maybe a definition for being an entrepreneur. And so it's been an exciting time. I mentioned we were talking earlier about the software industry, how software is just really taken over the world. Software is eating the world. I think is a famous quote. And so we've been able to be a part of that over the last few years as through some of the businesses that I've been able to be a part of. And so I think what I've learned is that you can actually I love the idea of solving problems and working to create value for our customers. And again, that's really I think key for us is how do we create value and do something that solves a problem that our customers have. That's the most exciting thing for me.
Great. Well, Gary, it's been great to have you with us on the show, and we're always learning some new ideas, some creative ways to help make people's lives better, or at least help them fix their stuff. So congratulations. Just stay with us as we go off there in a minute. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Tomorrow we will have a restream. It's Thursday. We have our whole hands meeting, so we're not going to have a live show, but we'll have a restream. So check out what comes up at 12 o'clock tomorrow. We'll do another restream on Friday too. There's a show every day. Every day there's a show at 12 o'clock. 3 live shows a week and 1 restream. Come back Monday for our recap show at 12 o'clock Pacific. We'll recap this week's shows and announce what's coming up for next week. Unless you want to announce what's coming up next week now, Kim, do you have that information?
I think so. Next week is a full week with shows on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Tuesday is going to be with Michael Ott at Rentiso. Wednesday is going to be with Tyler Baldwin at Reali. I think that's how you pronounce it. And Thursday will be with Lawrence Cook at NanoPay. I don't have the actual show titles yet for any of those, with the exception of Lawrence, which is Thursday's show. New customers, a fierce competition between large and small banks. So it's a showdown.
All right. Come back. Be safe and have fun.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary.